Welcome back everybody to the third part of our Unity stealth game tutorial series. In the previous video, we set up patrolling enemies using waypoints and setting up their animations in the right directions. Now, let's just spend a few minutes talking about sorting layers and how we can create a script that will dynamically change the sorting layer for an object based on the player's position. In this example, we'll be looking at the player's relationship with the guards. So, when you're ready, grab your codex. Let's crack on. So, what are sorting layers? Sorting layers determine which order 2D sprites and images are rendered. If you've used Photoshop, CSP, or other image manipulation software, then you'll be familiar with using layers to render images either on top of or below another. For example, if I select the player, my player is on layer 5. By default, it is 0, and you'll see the player disappears. That's because we have more than one object on the same layer, yet only one of them is being rendered. In this example, it is my ground. So I've gone ahead and decided to make my player on the 5th layer. That's because I have other objects in the scene I want the player to render above. For example, my walls are render layer 1, my non-collider walls are 6, such as this bottom wall here. You can see that these crates rend behind that bottom wall, and so too will the player and the enemy. My non-cover objects are 2, and my cover objects are on 3. Playing around with sorting layers is a really quick way to add a bit of dynamic and depth to your 2D game, such as a project like this with pseudo-isometric style. Now, what if we have two moving objects in the scene and we want to change their layers depending on the distance between those objects? How do we dynamically change that? For example, if I walk over to the guard, you'll see that even though I'm behind the guard, I'm rendering on top. When I'm in front of the guard, I should also render on top as well, but we want to render behind the guard when we're behind him. So how do we do that? Let's go ahead and open up our enemy controller script. What we're going to do is choose between two different sorting layers based on the player's position to the enemy on the y-axis, whether he's above or below. And to do that, we need two more variables. We'll have a serialized player controller, name the player, and a private sprite renderer, sprite rend. Then we'll reference these in the void awake. For the player, we'll do player equals GameObject.findObject of type, the player controller, and the sprite renderer will be the getComponent sprite renderer. And finally, let's go down to void update, and beneath our setAnimatorBool, we'll create an if statement. That states, if inside the brackets, the player.transform.position.y is greater than the transform.position.y of the enemy, then change the order in the sorting layers. So the sprite rend.sorting order equals 6. Else, should the player not be greater, then sprite rend.sorting order equals 4. So therefore, the sorting layer order will change dynamically based on the position of the two objects. Let's hit save and head back into Unity. Okay, so before I play test, I'm just going to highlight the guard so we can see the sorting layer number change. So let's go ahead and press play. And watch the number change based on the player's position on the Y. So now it's on 6. We render behind the enemy, but you'll notice the enemy is now rendering above that wall. So all we have to do is simply change the sorting layer of that object. So let's have one more look. We rend in front while we're below him on Y, and we rend behind him. Excellent. So let's go ahead and make that quick adjustment. I'm going to go to my wall non-collider layer. It's on 6, and I'm simply going to change that to 7, just like so. And now if we go over to the enemy, we'll render behind him as we should, and the enemy will also render behind that layer of objects. Excellent. And there we go, just a quick video to briefly explain sorting layers and how we can use them to create depth in our 2D game, and a few lines of code about how to dynamically change the order of the layer based on the position of two different objects. I hope this video was useful to you. Before the next video, Please make sure to fill your level with as many enemies as possible, as next time we're going to create some field of view. Thank you all very much for watching. I appreciate all your support, and I'll see you next time. Take care.